fourth pick, they're one of the more interesting teams in the league here, the San Antonio Spurs. They have Victor Wembanyama, the greatest rookie we've seen maybe ever, at least since LeBron James. Could be a top 10 player, top 5 player, a top number 1 player in the next year. I think he's already the top 10 player. I think he could be the best player by the end of next season in the NBA. The Spurs might accelerate this offseason.
You just keep going stronger and stronger with
I mean,
it.
he is coming.
Here's what I think is going to happen with Wemby. I think by the end of the next season, he's going to be in the conversation as the NBA's best player, and I think the year after that, he's going to win MVP. And he's going to win every Defensive Player of the Year as long as he's healthy for like the next 8 years.
So the Derrick Rose MVP record, age-wise, that was in my rookie ranking.
22.
So we're locked up on
22
that.
is the age.
Wemby will win MVP in his third year. Unless maybe this year, if the Spurs really accelerate and nail this offseason, which is why that 4th pick and 8th pick are so important. See, for me, if I'm the Spurs, I want to keep both of these picks.
Me too. Me too.
I think there's 2 players that they should be trying to angle to draft to surround Victor Wembanyama with, not trading up to get 1. So I'm not giving both. Maybe I trade up, but I'm not giving 8 with 4 to move up to 2 or 1.
I think everybody's jealous of them having 2 swings.
It's a great draft for them because you already have your centerpiece in Wemby. So how do you best maximize that player? Honestly, I think you could pluck any guy from this draft and it works with Wemby because of how special he is. But I'm curious with you guys where you're angling. Like, what's your preference, Tate, for the Spurs with that 4th pick?
My Spurs philosophy is simple. Take the French star still on the board. We have to please our star. Our star, he loves playing for his country. He loves playing with the
Risacher, Sarr, or somebody else?
I think if Sarr and Risacher are off the board, as some people project it to be, then you are very happy that I think the best Frenchman just fell into your lap, Tejan Salon.
Wow.
I think he's the best Frenchman on the board. I think everyone has, picked the wrong 2 horses. I think he's the number 1 horse. And I think that's why if I'm Atlanta, I figure out which one of those 3 that they actually like, and that's who I take number 1, and then we start talking about doing a trade. But if I'm the Spurs and Salon falls into our laps at number 4, 1, that makes Wemby very happy. 2, that makes our team very happy. And now you have the guy with the best frame in the draft. Everyone's talking about who's the Giannis of this draft. Him. He's the best case to be the Giannis of the draft, and you get him at number 4.
What do you see in Salon as kind of that potential?
18 years old, and I see the electricity. You know what I mean? Like, I see the way that it could be. I'm like, you put this guy next to Wemby, and if they stay healthy together, and he doesn't have the pressure of the number 1 option, but he also looks like he has a motor that can go. I just think it's a great fit. So if I get Salon number 4, or Sarr, or Risacher, whichever Frenchman falls to 4, I feel happy about it.
I like Sarr. I actually like Sarr with the Spurs the best, especially at that spot among the Frenchmen. I'm kind of Risacher. I'm really worried.
I'm not a
about
Risacher
him.
guy. Yeah.
His measure. We talked about how measurements don't matter. His skill doesn't offset that enough for me. Like his physicality, but also Salon. I'm like, his physicality doesn't woo me enough either. I'm just kind of worried about the spatial stuff. The great thing about Wemby is that he affords you some flexibility like that, and the fact that he can handle it and play 5 out, so you can have a non-shooting 4 that can roam. To me, Sarr makes the most sense in that sense. And defensively, I think they would just be incredible with Sarr down there.
I mean, what a great spot to be in, though. I mean, one of those 3 guys is going to be there for the taking, most likely, unless they go 1, 2, and 3. I don't really see that happening. So I think if you're the Spurs, it's just like, thank you. I appreciate you. And if you're Wemby, you're like, hey, they care about me. They want to bring a guy that I can relate to.
The Risacher stuff with San Antonio, that's been floating out there for a long while, that they love Risacher. They view him as this, 3-and-D guy, super versatile defender. He's 6'8", 6'9". He's got size. He's going to be a good defender. He's going to be a good role player in their eyes. I'm not convinced with the jumper. We'll see. Well, how is this stuff leaking out about San Antonio? To me, it just feels like
it's
misdirection.
not being leaked by San Antonio, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to. And I think if you're San Antonio, you're saying to yourself, maybe Risacher falls and we could get him at number 8.
But I just don't buy that like a player the Spurs love would be floating out there that much. This has not happened,
Yeah,
right? Like,
it's weird. It's way too vivid and it's specific. Like it's just I don't trust it either.
I feel like it's trying to trick the Hawks into taking him number 1, and then everyone behind
It's
the
the
scenes
Michael
is kinda
Scott oven
snickering
mitt.
to each other,
Oh,
like,
it's oven mitt. Oh, craftsmanship.
and we got him.
It's strange.
Right. Risacher .88 this past season in spot up opportunities. He didn't handle the ball hardly at all. Didn't
Ever.
poster use. Didn't really. Yeah. I mean, if you just think about the ways he was used, they were very specific, and then they weren't super efficient in the way. But if you look at San Antonio, this is a team that scheme wise creates. They pass the ball. It's just they led the league in potential assists, or they were like second. They're just not converting. So I think they need spacing. I need shooting, and if not, I think I want to get somebody really big and defensively rangy like a Sarr. But again, Reed I think would be incredible because he's probably the best over the top passer in the draft. How many times did you watch this? I swear I'm not doing the Kentucky thing with Reed, but like how many times were you like, man, they just need somebody over the top to pass the ball to him, and Wemby needs some pressure taken off of him in that sense.
I wonder if the Spurs are looking at this draft and saying we need to get our point guard of the future, or they're saying we can just get guys to put around Wemby and we're still figuring out our point guard of the future. I mean, I think that will be interesting because if Reed is there at number 4, I think he kind of is the best fit. And if the Spurs take him, you're like, okay, here's our point guard of the future. If they don't take him, I think that signals to the fact that we're still just trying to get pieces, 3-and-D type guys to put around Wemby, and we're going to try to get maybe a veteran guy to be our point guard.
Well, I mean, the one thing the Spurs do have already, aside from Wemby, is they have Devin Vassell, who is kind of a 3-and-D style wing, and then Jeremy Sohan, a super versatile defender and improved spot-up shooter. So they have 2 guys that I think are keepers next to Victor Wembanyama in the years to come. It's just about filling out everything else, including finding a point guard. Now, does that guy come via trade, free agency? Does he come in the draft as like a young guy to grow with Victor? That's where I think it's going to be very interesting on draft night, because the other name that I think is worth mentioning here is Stephon Castle. Castle, he's somebody who he's got size at 6'6". He has versatility on defense. He's the type of guy who can be a willing screener and cutter. We saw him at UConn, all the inverted stuff that they ran there. Imagine him doing that, setting screens for Victor Wembanyama, cutting to the rim, because Victor's going to be the primary guy for the Spurs. So like they need a point guard, but Victor's going to be averaging 7-8 assists in his prime, I believe. And so I think like having guys that work around him as the center of the solar system, Stephon Castle might be one of those guys that really is a top option for me for them.
What do you think about, I mean, Castle, I think is, because in my brain, I think, okay, if you got Sohan and you've got Keldon and we were talking about the potential assist, that to me would mean, okay, we're kind of out of the inefficient, like wing, big defender business. But if they get Castle, it's all about cost now versus like what it would cost to get those guys. There are some cheaper guys, like if you're going to draft these like shooting, spacing point guards, that's cheaper than going and trying to get a Darius Garland or a Trey. They're not going to go get Trey, but that type of player, if they got Castle, that could free them up to swap with somebody else and say, like, we think Castle's as good as Keldon Johnson. We think Castle's, and I think that could give them some sort of flexibility, because as you're describing their roster, it's like, I love the idea of defensively Sarr, but it's like if you have Sohan, I don't think you're going to take a Sarr, right? Your spacing is just, it's a delicate thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to, I just can't wait to see what the Spurs do more than any other team in this year's draft. I can't wait to see what the Spurs do, because I mean, it's Victor.
Buzelis is also an incredible possibility for them.
Yes.
Right. I mean, just kind of how things shake out in front of them. It does feel like a choose your own adventure draft for the Spurs, where it's like we could go like Reed Shepherd and Steph Castle if he falls.
You could get your guy Salon at 8 and then Reed Shepherd at 4.
Right.
Like that could be the combo.
It's like a Play-Doh world where they're like, we just create who we want to put around Wemby. I think he should be involved in the decision process. I mean, he should be sitting right there. It's like, hey, alien, what do you think about this?
He just wants to draft all the Frenchmen.
Yeah.
Well, Salon's his best friend, right?
Yeah, they also share an age and they've known each other for years. Yes. That's one of the reasons why I can't help but think like the Spurs have never let agents dictate what teams do. But Salon is like a grinder. Like that dude works his ass off. You see it.
That's
on the
all
court.
I've heard, that he's in the gym all the time.
Yeah,
right? I mean, that sells.
Exactly.
Teams,
so
especially like the Spurs.
Yes, I just can't help but think the Reese Shea stuff is all just misdirection, and then they end up going.
They've got
with
the wrong
different
Frenchman.
Yeah.
Why can't Wemby have some great friends that are great shooters? I feel some anxiety about all his best, like Koulibaly and Solana. I'm like, why can't any of his friends shoot the ball?
Yeah.
It's fine.
He has some like philosophical statement about living and dying by the 3. He was like, if we die, we die.
Missoula and Wemby in a conversation would be entertaining. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.